Good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending on when you decided to watch this. It's the SEEP coming to you semi-live from room 208. Sitting in my favorite spot. That's right, it's the most comfortable chair in the room. The sun's shining on my back. I can see the door perfectly. And well, in real life, I'm somewhere in Florida. So, thought I'd give you a rundown on what's going on today and also get you through some stuff so you could actually learn something. So, I'm gone, obviously. This is, I guess, the only day I have you guys this week left. So, it should be relatively simple. I'm going to run you guys through a few slides of notes that I want you guys to write down. And then when you get done, there is an article waiting for you guys in Google Classroom with a little set of questions at the end. So, be on your best behavior, do what you need to do. If you're going to screw around, do it quietly and don't bug the people around you. Or the sub, I would hate to have to deal with anything when I get back. Okay, so today's learning goal is we're going to discuss the difference between sensation and perception, and we're going to break down a couple of facts about a couple of the senses. Then you're going to have work time on the sensory perception article assignment that you're going to find in Google Classroom. When dealing with these videos like this, it's a good idea to use a process called SPAR, stop, pause, and rewind as you need to if you miss things. So here we go. All right, so our new chapter, this is actually Psychology 1, sorry, I do this sometimes in Psychology 2, I forgot to change the label, is called Sensation and Perception, and it's going to deal with kind of a basic owner's manual on how your body works. I don't think this is going to be anything, hopefully, that's totally new for you guys, but in some cases, I've been surprised at the lack of, I don't want to call it health knowledge you guys have, but for you guys that haven't taken anatomy, the lack of understanding of some of the basic body systems. So here we go. All right, so the introduction, pretty clear cut, pretty simple couple definitions, kind of a key concept on this slide. Again, make sure you get these down. There is going to be a test on this unit eventually once we get it done. And so we're going to start off with sensation. Sensation, by definition, is basically the process where your body receives information from the environment and that encodes those signals that it gets from the environment. So it's basically the process of receiving information. It's using your five senses. It's using your touch, your vision, your taste, your smell, your hearing to bring in information. So right now you're doing a lot of this. Hopefully the person sitting next to you doesn't stink, but if they do, you are bringing in odor information, or I don't know if the lemon air freshener is plugged in the front of the room today or not, but if it is, you're picking up information from that. You're visually seeing this video, and with your sense of hearing or audition, you're listening to the sound of my voice. Okay, so you're bringing in a lot of information all the time. Oh, and your butt's touching your chair, so you've got that sense of touch going too. So literally, you're an apex information getter right now. You're doing all the things. Now, that part about that's interesting is that's really only half of it. If your ears work perfectly, but the temporal lobe on your brain didn't, you could hear, but you wouldn't be able to process it, so you wouldn't really truly hear it at the level that you're used to. And so the second step in things is perception. And perception is basically how your body interprets and organizes that information once it gets into your body to make it meaningful. And so once this visual of this slide comes into your eye, and it goes through this whole process that we'll talk about later, and it travels on the optic nerve back to the occipital lobe. The occipital lobe is what gives what you see meaning. It's what says, hey, that's a chair, or that's a person, or that's a deer, or that's a pen, or that's my friend. And you're able to then assign information to that. When you hear a sound, your favorite song, sirens, brakes on a car, a dog barking aggressively, you're able to take that information and make sense of it. And so you have sensation and perception that work together. Now, if we take something like, I don't know, for instance, like Tom from the coma video, the guy that fell off the balcony that I asked a question on the test about. Tom obviously had some damage to his ear in the fall, but he also had some damage to his temporal lobe. So he had difficulties both bringing in sensation, but then also dealing with the perception. And so the key concept here, the big takeaway from what I've talked about so far is sensation is about collecting data. It's about bringing it in and making it your own, while perception is how we make sense of it and how we assign a meaning to it. So an example, again, I've given you a million on the slide, is we see a red light. That's a sensation. We see it hanging from the cord or the pole or whatever, and we see red. But then the perception part is that we recognize that red means stop. That we've put that together in our mind, that we know that 1, that is red, 2, that's a stoplight, and 3, when I see a red light, I stop. Now we can debate what a yellow light means, but hey, I'm not here to get in on the conversation, so I'd feel a little left out if you guys told me that yellow meant go very fast or something like that. It doesn't. It does not mean go very fast. All right, now, what we're going to do is we're going to do a really, really quick run through of each one of the senses. We're only going to do 2 today. We're going to do vision and first. So technically, vision is called the ophthalmic sense or ophthalmic sense. Sorry, I have a hard time saying that word. And it is your most dominant sense. It is the sense that we use the most often. It's the sense that in humans is dominant. The whole, never judge a book by its cover. They say that because we visually see the cover before any other sense kicks in. Your sense of vision is ridiculously powerful. It's ridiculously important how things work. Obviously, some of us have flawed eyes. I'm wearing my glasses right now because otherwise I struggle to read the slides without it. But it's really important. So it's your primary sense for spatial awareness. And what I mean by spatial awareness is knowing how far away, near or far things are. For instance, when you park your car, you have to make a judgment on how far to the right or left, or then the distance at which you stop. If your spatial awareness doesn't work well, you'd be hitting parked cars all the time, or when you went to sit down in a chair, you might miss it, and things like that. We also use it for navigation, identification of things in our environment. Visually we see our friend versus someone that maybe we don't like, and so we're able to identify them by that. Now, some key parts of the eye, and we're going to go through some of these in more detail later. You have your retina. The retina is actually at the back of the eye, and it's your light-sensitive tissue at the back of the eye. Once that light comes into your eye and is focused by the lens, it's focused onto the retina on the back of the eye. And the back of the eye is actually where things start to make sense of the world. The picture that you see of the world is actually flipped upside down on your retina. So you actually are seeing the world upside down in your eye. Then there are 2 kind of distinct parts that help for making sense of what you see in rods. They're called rods because they're actually shaped like a rod. And they're for dim light vision. They help you see at night. They kind of help you see shading, but they also help you see when things are dim. They're not really good for making out color. That's why at night you don't see color as well in the darkness, especially the more distant things get from you. Rods, they don't completely shut off during the day. Like right now I'm looking in the hall and the hallway light has gone off. And so my rods are focusing on what's going on out there and the shading and the shadowing and the fact that the drinking fountain's out there, but I can barely see it. Then you have your cones. Cones are shaped like cones. And they're used for color vision. And they help you to see detail on things. Like today I'm wearing a red Marshall track sweatshirt, and if you were looking at that would help you do that. Cones fire in different colors depending on what you're seeing, and the mix of primary colors helps you guys see that. Then you have your fovea. Your fovea is actually the area where you have your sharpest vision. I think you guys are all aware that you have a blind spot. But your fovea is one area on the back of your retina where you have like the most rods and cones, where your vision's the sharpest. Generally, in most people, your fovea is straight ahead of you. It's just a matter of like what distance straight ahead of you it is. Now, for each one of these things, I'm also going to give you an absolute threshold. That's if this sense worked perfect, what could you do? And vision is pretty cool because if your sense worked perfect, if we could get you out in the middle of the desert where there's no light pollution, no towns, no light poles, no car headlights or anything like that, if we put a single candle 30 miles away from you, you would be able to see the flame on the top of that candle. So that's vision. It's kind of a little bit of an overview. Last slide for today, the auditory sense, that's hearing. And so the technical name for hearing is audition. Okay, so the sense of hearing is audition or your auditory sense. Now, obviously, it's important in communication. I'm talking to you guys right now, and you're able to understand the words coming out of my mouth. And it's also important for environmental awareness. Think about walking through the woods. And a lot of times you can kind of hear something crunching in the distance, and you listen for, someone talking or the sound of an animal. It helps us keep aware of what's going on. All right. Hearing is obviously one of those things that, like many senses, tends to not go as well for you as you get older, and you have to really kind of take care of. The American Medical Association says that using earbuds or headphones for more than 60 minutes a day at more than half volume is permanently damaging to your hearing. So think about that for a second when you think about the things that you guys do. Some key terms here: you have the cochlea. That's cochlea, not cochlea. The cochlea is kind of this snail-shaped organ inside your ear. It contains liquid, and it converts sound into an electrical signal. It's contained in your brain. The cochlea is extremely important to hearing. For some people, the cochlea doesn't work, and so they're deaf, but now they've gotten to the point where we have cochlear implants. This thing that looks like a plug-in behind the ear. They're really neat. We can talk more about those later in the unit. You've got decibels, or the little dB signal. That's the unit of intensity in sound. Intensity is the volume, how loud is it? If I whispered to you, that's going to be a lot lower decibels than if I yelled at you. Okay, going and listening to, Mozart quietly at night while you go to sleep is a lot different than going and listening to Metallica from the front row, all right, at a concert. Then you have frequency. Frequency is measured in hertz. This is actually the highness or lowness of a sound. Highness, am I like this? And the waves are really quick and fast, versus lowness, where I'm like this. And the waves are really kind of slow and relaxed. All right, there's a lot that goes into hearing. We're going to talk about how your ear works and eardrums and little bones and all these different things. Now, the absolute threshold for this is if someone had a traditional old school watch with hands that moved around, that part of you guys can't read, you can detect the tick of a watch in a quiet room from about 20 feet away. If you don't know what 20 feet is, it's about 2 basketball hoops high. That gives you some presence or state of mind. Okay, so that's all the things I wanted to talk about today to give you a little preview on the chapter. Next time when I'm back, we'll do the other 3 senses. But now I want you guys to open up Google Classroom, get started on that assignment. And if you have any questions, you might be able to chat me. I'm not necessarily guaranteeing I'm going to get back to you instantly, but I'll do the best I can. Have a great rest of the week, and go Cardinals.